So welcome to a crazy episode for myself. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Yesterday was my 50th birthday. It happened. It happened. I can't believe it happened because 10 years ago on the channel, I did an episode called The 40-Year-Old Gamer. And I swear to God, I thought it was all over at that point. I'm like, making a video saying, I'm 40 years old and I still play video games, and isn't this insane? And I'm super old now. And here I am, 10 years later, just like that. And it is absolutely scary how fast time is going by. But the one thing that doesn't change within the test of time is my love for video games. It has always been there. It's always been a passion. And as I'm getting older now, I'm realizing that it's kind of a me thing. Now, hear me out. There's a lot of other people on YouTube that are older gamers, like Joe from GameSack and My Life in Gaming, really great guys. But what's fascinating is there's only a few of us. There's only a few of us older guys on YouTube, and I want to explain why. And it explains why I'm here and why this is kind of a unique thing. And it's not everybody from my generation, because as I said in my 40-Year-Old Gamer episode, when I turned like 14 years old, I remember my mom saying to me, "Hey John, what do you want for your birthday?" And I was like, "Oh, could I get some like G.I. Joes and things like that?" Because that's what I grew up with. I like those toys. I thought they were cool. And she's like, "Aren't you getting a little old for that?"
Live the adventure of G.I. Joe. Cobra Pogo, G.I. Joe Slam and figures sold separately. Go, Joe!
And that was the first time I was ever age shamed. I was like, what? Oh, what? Am I getting older? I can't play with toys anymore or anything? I'm like, oh no. And I was really kind of depressed. I'll never forget that moment, thinking it's all over. I can't be doing these things anymore. But at that time, I had just gotten into video gaming, and I was really enjoying that, and I was like, this is really a unique thing. This is fascinating. So what it kind of is that my generation was shamed into, hey, you should grow up and not play video games anymore. You should move on with your life and do really important things, like just get a job and climb a mountain and do something like that. Get out of the house. Don't play video games. Video games are a waste of time. And I was always really depressed about that fact. I was like, no. And here's the unique thing. I was playing games and I never stopped. And all of my other friends around me, most of them, all went on to quit video gaming and to move on. We all quit skateboarding, and then a lot of us, quit video gaming, but I didn't. I let the skateboarding go a little bit. Get that? But I got into games, and I got even more into it. I put an episode out earlier in the year called, when the year my life changed. And that's when I really decided to get into video gaming and anime even more. And that's even the thing, is it was weird growing up. I mean, being into anime was a really, really strange thing for my generation. You have to understand, my parents never collected video games. They never collected movies or anything like that. They were from that generation that didn't do any of that. They'd watch a movie on TV or in the theater or anything like that, and that'd be it. But they had no interest in video games. So they were trying to tell me, hey, you should be the same way. But I was a brand new thing. Where I'm like, no, I grew up, watching amazing science fiction fantasy movies, playing really great video games, got into role-playing games, all that, playing Dungeons and Dragons. And I was like, no, I like this stuff. I like this stuff a lot, and I don't want to let it go. It kind of defines me as a person.
All those moments will be lost.
Now, if we take away all the video games and all the stuff for me, what's left over? It's me, just John. That's who's left over, and I'm a fun guy and all of that kind of stuff. But the video games and the anime and all that stuff to it, the music and all that, is my culture. It is my life in a lot of ways, and that's what's so crazy about it. And I don't want to let it go. And I'm 50 years old, and I still don't want to let it go. Nor do I have to. I'm not my parents' generation. I'm a brand new thing.
What generation are you?
But I am a unique thing. I am, just like Joe from GameSack is, just like My Life in Gaming is that we're guys that never let it go. And we were told to let it go. And so for us to be on YouTube and to be getting older and still into video games is a unique thing for our generation. That's why there's not a lot of people doing it. There's not a lot, hitting the 50s doing this. And big shout out to Food for Dogs. She's definitely representing us as well. And I really, really want to thank her. Love Britta, wonderful lady on YouTube. And, I look to Britta and say, my gosh, this is going to be me for sure. I am not going anywhere. I'm always going to be into role-playing games. I'm always going to be into video games, into anime, into all of that stuff. Why would it all of a sudden stop when it's always been a passion of mine? It's a passion of mine before I had a video game show. All right? It's kind of wild that I even started a video game show because I never wanted to be in front of the camera. Okay? I never wanted to be a host on a video game show. It was nothing I aspired for. I didn't want to be, well known for it or become, any of that stuff. I didn't want any of that stuff that came along with it. I just saw at one point that all the games that I grew up with weren't being talked about. So I thought, oh my gosh, where's the shows talking about this? I wanted to watch the show. And then I realized, oh, maybe I have to make the show. And so I reluctantly came on in the early days, and I didn't feel comfortable in front of the camera, and I personally didn't want to do it. And we've done 1,200 episodes of the show now over 15 years, and I'm here doing it. I wanted to do it because I love the video games, and I wanted to talk about them, and that's why I came on here, and that's what's so unique, and that's why I'm like I cannot believe that I have this show online. Sometimes, I know you won't believe it, I get up from here and I go off into my regular life and I forget that the show's seen by thousands of people. I forget that. I'm very, very away from those thoughts, right? Isn't that what's fascinating? It's really wild. I'm the most offline, online guy there is. Like, I didn't grow up with the internet. I didn't have the internet. So I got to sit and play video games, and me and my friends talked and hung out and had FaceTime with each other and would argue and make fun of each other. It was great times, right? And we didn't have phones we were always looking at. Well, I remember when Robin and my friends would come over, everybody gave each other FaceTime. We'd all talk to each other and hang out. Nobody would be on phones, distracted. We were all there in the moment. And so I grew up in an environment without the internet. So I didn't have anything to aspire to be. I didn't aspire to be a YouTuber or a TikToker or anything like that. I didn't have any of those aspirations. I accidentally got into this, and statistically looking at it, I and a whole bunch of other YouTubers should not even be here because of our parents' generation for saying, hey, go do some woodworking. You don't be playing video games in the basement. And so we were shamed out of it. And I was somebody that was like, I will not be shamed out of this because I love it so much. It's so amazing for me as well, becoming a 50-year-old gamer, looking back, all the games that I grew up with are all like super retro. In fact, I'm not like one of these older guys that looks back and is like, oh, the old days were better. I have moments with my friends, the golden time with my friends during the PS1 era. That is so golden to me as a nostalgic thing. But I look back on the NES and I play some of them and I'm like, wow, some of those have not aged well. But yes, are they nostalgic? Sure. But I'm not one of those older gamers that have got to a point where I'm like, oh, it's only the old games are good. The new games can't live up. No way, man. We live in the best video game time ever. And I'm glad I've grown up and I got to experience all of those games as they came out, up to now. Like, do you know how fascinating it was for me to play the original Super Mario RPG 27 years ago on launch, and now they just, did a remaster on it, and it's like 27 years later, and I have that perspective? I'm happy I have it, and that's why I don't want to leave YouTube, because I want to dial in my perspective of being older, and also not getting to an age where you become an old man yelling at the clouds. I am not that guy. I welcome new video games and new ideas and all of that stuff. That's why I was able to do something crazy that a lot of people couldn't believe, that my favorite game of all time, which was Phantasy Star, the original Phantasy Star on the Sega Master System, I actually said that my new favorite game of all time was Breath of the Wild. I replaced that. People couldn't believe it. They're like, what's going on? And that's because I'm not trapped in the past. I see the past of where it is and I appreciate the past, but the present is where I am and I appreciate being here today, getting to experience all of the incredible games. And let me say, I have never gotten burnt out in video games. When people talk about that, I don't understand it because I'm escaping into video games, not escaping away from them. I've never understood people saying, oh, I need a break from video games. I'm like, why? Video games are my escape. I want to escape into them. I want to stay there. I love it. I love that hypnotic state that you go into at times. You know, it's almost like a trance when you get really into a game. Like for me, when I was in Tears of the Kingdom, I was no longer in my living room. I was somewhere else. And I like the escapism of video games. To be honest with you, as I've gotten older, I don't even watch that many movies or TV shows anymore. I'm kind of done with a lot of that. But where it's still alive for me, video games and still anime, still loving anime and all that. It's still as bright and as exciting as it was when I was like 13 years old. In fact, in a lot of ways, I enjoy video gaming more now than I did back then because I have more of a perspective on it and I have an appreciation on it that is like crazy. It is crazy. And I just want to thank all of you for watching me over the years. And it's quite the milestone to hit the 50-year-old gamer. I remember I was like 48 and I'm like, oh my God, in a couple of years, I'm going to have to do the 50-year-old gamer episode. And I think a lot of people as well shy away from their age. They don't want to talk about it online. They think it's something detrimental to their channel. I think it's a strength to my channel. And you know what? Yes, am I getting a few more white hairs in my beard? Sure.
I found that a touch of gray adds an air of distinction.
I find that's completely fine. It's distinction. I like that. I'll take that. I'm never going to change that. I'm not going to dye my beard. I'm not going to change my look.
To a Klingon, a beard is a symbol of courage.
I think it's a sign of strength.
I'm not going to be like, hey there, fellow kids. I'm not going to be that meme for sure.
How do you do, fellow kids?
I'm just going to be me, and I'm going to have the fun that I've had for the last 15 years of the show, and quite literally the last nearly 40 years of me playing video games. That's how long it has been. I remember my parents getting me the Atari 2600 back in the 80s. And here's something that shows that I'm not caught in the past. I really didn't like that machine too much. I thought the Atari 2600 was okay. I thought it was fine, but it wasn't until I discovered the NES, that's when I was like, oh my God, all those arcade games I'm playing, I can play them at home? And Super Mario Brothers was no pun intended, was a wonder back then. I was like, I cannot believe this. And maybe I might be lucky enough to live till I get to 60 years old so I can do the 60-year-old gamer episode.
I'm not senile, you know.
That's something that I'm like, oh my God, that would be insane. The one thing I will say to everybody, it doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter where you're at in life at all, time goes by really fast. Really fast. If I was going to say something about just getting older in general, it goes by really quick. I mean, my teens was a very slow time. Hit my 20s. Yeah, it still was pretty much slow. Hit my 30s. I went from 30 to 40 like that. And my 30s were some of my best years. I really enjoyed my 30s. And then 40 to 50 was almost instantaneous. I cannot believe how fast that went by. And so I'm scared going from 50 to 60. I'm like, oh my God, how fast is that going to go by?
Accelerated decrepitude.
I'm trying to hold on to it and I'm trying to enjoy it and have a bit of fun and all of that. And yeah, again, thank you guys so much for watching for the last 15 years of the show. And it's quite extraordinary to get to this point being the 50-year-old gamer. And I'll say this much, there's no shame in it. In fact, I think there's so many strengths in it, and I'm not going anywhere, unfortunately, for a while, hopefully. Anyways, guys, until next time.